Hey guys, it's ANicWin, also known as Amy, and happy Monday. I hope you're having a lovely day. We finally have a longer video. It's a full build, which I am thrilled about. I really like the way that this one turned out, mostly because of the floor plan. It's a little bit different from what I feel like I normally do, and I don't know, it got me jazzed. This is also our first autumnal build of the year. I do love this season. This is not the home I actually mentioned in my last voiceover. I'm not sure what's happening with the roof there. This isn't the same home. I had built something in, what was it, Brindleton Bay. It was like a Cape Cod type deal, and I just didn't know where to take the interior. So that one's like just sitting on pause. I don't know if I'll return to it, honestly. I have like a handful of builds that I started that I like, but don't really know how to finish. Am I the only one that does that? Probably not. Sometimes it feels like it though. But this is a different one, and I don't think that the lot name up in that left-hand corner is right, because I started out in Windenburg, which to me is like the ultimate fall world. I don't know, that's probably an unpopular opinion, but it's gorgeous. I love it. But I didn't like the lot that I chose. It was the one, it's a 30 by 20, so it's similar, and it's ironic because I ended up here, but it was like, rather than going back, it went straight across, if you know what I mean. And the way that the trees and stuff were set up, it was just really hard to build on that lot. So I moved to, I think, Newcrest at that point, and then I don't like Newcrest, so I got out of there pretty quickly, and I ended up here, which has the same sort of lot dimensions. It's a 30 by 20 going long ways rather than straight back. I don't know, clearly geometry was not my thing, but this one's a little bit easier to build on because there's not there's still trees and stuff around because we're in the countryside, but it's not like jerking the camera up every time I try to get to the side, which was what was happening in both Newcrest and Windenburg, which I don't love. It kind of irritates me. So it all worked out. And also, side note, while we're on this, before we talk about the build, do you see the background? I don't know if this is my reshade doing this, or if it's actually G-shade, but I don't know if it's my preset doing this, or if this is just how the world is, and I didn't think about turning off the preset while I was in game. But the background, like the mountains, I guess we're like in a, I don't know, is this a harbor? I don't really know what this is meant to be. But like the mountains on the distance, like the coastline is blue. Like it's blue, it's just blue. I don't know if that was the weather system at the time that I was playing and it's meant to be foggy, or if that's just how the world looks, but I can tell you right now, not a fan of that, whatever that is, because it's very, I'm just going to say lazy. It's very lazy that the background's not rendered. It's just grayed out, because no, I'm not here for that. Anyway, moving on. It might be my preset and I might be jumping to conclusions. Would not be the first time. So this is a family home. It's going to be 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. One bathroom is located on the first floor. The other one is like a master style ensuite on the second floor. And I have a very loose storyline for the family that lives here. And by loose, I mean I know the number of Sims that live here, and that's about it. I haven't fleshed out careers or anything like that, just because I just didn't. I don't know. I have nothing else to give you there. But I'm thinking it's a couple. They're an older couple. I'm going to say obviously, but not obviously. But they're an older couple. They're well established. They're kind of done with their having children years, and they're just sort of in the raising of the children. That makes no sense. But they're in the raising of the children process. And I think when they initially got together, they had a child. I made it a daughter, but it really doesn't matter. But they had a daughter who is now a teenager. And they tried for several years after, she was born to have a second child. They really wanted to give her a sibling, and it just never happened. So they're like, okay. And they moved here, and everybody was upstairs. Both bedrooms were upstairs, were in use. And then on down the line, like we're talking her late childhood going into teen years, they found out that they were pregnant, expecting again, and they spontaneously had triplets. That would stress me out so badly. If that were me, if that were real life, which we're not in a position for that to be real life currently, but man, that would stress me out. I got the shakes just thinking about that. But they had triplets. I don't think they're identical. I think they're all fraternal, but they are all 3 boys. So what happened is mom and dad gave the teenager their room. So she's got the ensuite. They moved downstairs in what was previously their office. It's right next to the second bathroom. It's a little bit smaller of a room, but they're down there. And then they have the triplets in their teenager's older room, which is actually the biggest room of them all. I don't know if that really necessarily makes sense, but it worked out in my head, and so that's what we went with. And I kind of like this storyline. I'm a family game player, and I know that's not everybody's shtick, but I like it. I either play with families with 1 child or they have like 12. That's an exaggeration because you can only have so many Sims on a lot, but it's either all or nothing with me, and that's kind of me in every aspect of my life, but that's how I prefer to play. And since I was going to kind of jump in and do a family home, I thought, you haven't done anything with multiples in a while. Not that you have to, but it felt like it was time to kind of bring that theme out a little bit. And I ended up I really like all the bedrooms, but I ended up really liking what I did with this house. It's not aesthetic. Nothing matches. I mean, it matches, but like there's no one set decor style for any particular room in the house. It kind of changes as you move through. And I did that on purpose. I like houses that are a little bit chaotic. I like when things don't match. I feel like it's more realistic. And when we're building in a game like this where things are kind of cartoony, it helps me. The quirk helps me connect a little bit more. And that's just my preferred style, but I recognize that that's not everybody's style. So at this point, I'm realizing I am decorating for fall. This is also when I realized that I'm building in like the stock mode of the world. So I think that's like summertime for the game. So eventually I pop out, I add a sim on the lot, and the foliage changes. But I forgot about that until I started placing pumpkins. I'm like, oh yeah, the leaves. That's literally what I said out loud. I was like, the leaves. And I don't like to build with a sim on the lot just because you see the money subtracting and adding, and it's an editing nightmare. Also, it's really distracting for me because I'm like, what is that? But that's just a personal preference. I was willing to make the sacrifice for the weather system. I wish, this is also another side note, I wish that we could change what weather we're building, like what not weather, that's not the word, what season we're building in from here. So like up at the top, like just go with me here, if we had the tool menu like that up there, the toolbar, like right next to where you change the daylight, if we could just shift through, like click through, not shift, I don't know, words are hard right now, but if we could just click through what season we're in, and then it would just be like winter would have snow by default, fall would be, the leaves are all changed and there's like mild to moderate leaves falling on the ground, and then spring and summer would be normal. I don't know, you could have some leaves missing from spring, but you catch my drift. I think that would be a good idea. Anyway, I'm blabbering through the build. So I cut out me decorating the exterior porch. So there's 2 porches. There's the side porch, there's the one on the front, and then there is actually a balcony in the back. The balcony in the back only has a telescope on it. I almost said stethoscope and now I'm tripped up, but it has a telescope. I didn't put anything else on it just because it's a 1x3 or 4, I think. It's really just like a bonus space, a little decorative architectural feature. The side porch has the trash can with some planters there right off the kitchen. It's really just a way for you to get to the backyard. And then the front porch, I think I put the archaeology table. That feels right. It's one of those tables, and I might have put a chair. I don't think I did though. I think I just have the archaeology table and some like decorative plants. Because I'm thinking like maybe one of them is into the like some sort of science-y career, and that just felt like a natural progression. I don't know. I just went with it. And then we worked on the entry hallway, and then we're moving on into the kitchen. I do eventually change the color scheme of the cabinets to that kind of orangey wood tone. I use the vampire ones. I really wanted something that looked classic, but I didn't want something that looked super fancy, I guess. And I also didn't want to go rustic. I just wanted something that looked modern, kind of, but not fully modern. That's not making any kind of sense, and I already know that, but this is what we settled on. I initially thought white and black, as you can see here, but it was looking a little too sterile, especially with the rest of that like space that I had put together so far. So I went with this kind of orangey reddish wood tone. I don't really know what color family that's in, and I think it works a lot better with this table that I chose with chairs. Also, those chairs are from high school years. I did not know that we had them, and I am obsessed. I think they're so cute, like the kind of cute where if it was any other situation, you'd never give them a second look, but because they're there and you have limited options, you're like, okay. So the kitchen's coming together. I'm trying to incorporate fall decorations on the interior as well. I'm trying to lean more towards brown and darker colors to just sort of complement what we have going on in the dining and the kitchen, since they're a shared space. Now, I will say I do change the wallpaper here in the kitchen just behind that wall where the sink is. It was a little too flat. I'm uncomfortable when it's just paint behind where the sink is. Don't ask me why, because I don't have a great answer for that, but it just looks so blank, and it's so hard to put decorations like underneath cabinetry. I mean, I'm doing it. It's happening, but you don't want to go overboard, especially if you want to be able to cook, right? Like if you want space to be able to food prep and not run into routing issues, you can't go too ham. And so I was struggling with that a little bit here, but it all comes together. But that does change. You'll see that in the screenshots when we get to it, but that's really the only change I make to the kitchen. Then we move on to the living room, and for some reason that one window to the left, you'll see it in a second because I change it, kept like graying out. I hate that glitch. All you have to do, if you're wondering, because it happens in apartments all the time, is hit the recolor tool and just click on it, because even in apartments you can't change windows, but that will still, even though you'll get an error message, that will fix the glitch. It works on doors as well. You may have just noticed a cut there. I struggled with curtains in this home. I really wanted to use these base game ones, and upstairs, like in the kids' room, I give up and switch to a different style of curtain because it was driving me nuts. They don't clip correctly. They don't meet in the middle, like in the actual center of the window. And I don't know if it was the windows I was using, because I used the ones from Get Famous, or if it's just the curtain, but it was driving me nuts. And it took me probably like a minute of sped up game footage, but it was like 10 minutes of me fighting with the curtains, and I was over it at this point. But this living room is very teal. It's very yellow. It's kind of orangey. I used darker wood tones, and I used wood tones that don't match, because at this point I realized none of the orangey wood tones were the same. And I think I used a very similar color scheme in my apartment that was a few weeks ago. That was kind of autumnal, and I regret nothing. I think to me, teal, yellow, and orange just scream fall. I don't know why. I don't know when that happened, but here we are. Now this is the master bedroom. Like I said, it's right off of it's on the main floor. It's right off of the living room. So there's like a tiny hallway, a bathroom, which is shared by the parents and the triplets, which is 5. Is that 5? Yeah, 5 people for one bathroom. It's kind of crazy, but it happens. I mean, it works. People do it every day. Now, I have not play tested this build. Are we surprised? We're not at all. I'm going to, but I'm not sure if the other half of this bed is accessible as things currently stand. I'm afraid that the dresser is going to block them, and if the dresser's not blocking them, I feel like that little window seat's blocking them, and I'm going to have to push them into the wall a smidgen. I think. Yeah, that's probably what's going to have to happen. But I don't know. I like the way the space is laid out. Even though it was an office previously, it's still like cozy, but big enough to be a bedroom for 2 people. I liked it. Then we move on upstairs. Now you may have noticed I cut out the downstairs hallway and the upstairs hallway. They're both so small there wasn't really anything to see. I also cut out the downstairs bathroom because it basically looks like this. The only difference is the clutter. Whereas this one's for just one person and the downstairs is for 5. It has a little bit more variety. But I like this bathroom just because I put the closet right next to the shower. Like I said, I haven't play tested it, so I don't know if that works, but worst case scenario, you can't access the closet, and I think that's fine. As long as you can get in the shower, I'm not really bothered about that. Then we move into the teens room. So this room, I think, is actually the same size as the master bedroom downstairs with the exception of that little bump out, like where the door is. But I think the square footage is the same. I'm not really sure. I don't know why I brought that up, but anyway, this is the teens room. I decided as I stumble to give her a double bed. I also went with this kind of gray and pink theme. I don't know what possessed me to do it, but I did it, and I grabbed it and ran with it, and I regret nothing. I think this particular teen I was really trying to give her a clock after giving her the alarm clock because that made sense. Anyway, I think this teen is kind of on the more creative side. And I don't think she really has found what it is she likes to do. So I think she's into music. She's got a guitar, but I also give her a knitting basket. I feel like she's also into like sketching and drawing and like maybe digital art. I do give her a little tablet. I think it's a gaming tablet, but it's the one that came with high school years. So I think she's kind of dabbling in all of the things, and I don't know, she kind of feels like someone I would hang out with, honestly. I mean, maybe not now because I don't routinely hang out with teenagers, but I'm 29 for reference. I think that would be a little strange, but I don't know. She would have been someone I would have hung out with in high school when I was that age. The creative types. I've always been friends with people that are more creative. Anyway, we're moving on. We're getting a little bit derailed because we're approaching the end of the voiceover. So I was a little bit uncomfortable with that window and how close it was to the wall. I hate doing that, but I didn't want to give her that one random little bump out, like it's a one tile space. There wasn't really anything that was going to fit in there that was going to look good, so I kind of had to overlook it. I decided to place this little love seat in front of it, maybe thinking that it would distract me. I don't know if it really worked, but I do end up liking this room. I think the layout is odd, and since I didn't have a full fleshed out idea of what this particular sim was like, I didn't want to go too hard with the decorations and the personal clutter. I always like to leave a little bit of room for people to kind of customize if they were to download. But I still think there's enough personality in here to kind of give you a direction. So I'm thinking that painting to the left of the mirror is one she made. I think these are things that she's made as well. So she's kind of collecting her own gallery wall. I don't know. I really like the idea, and I really like the way that room turned out, and I love the shape of it. One of my favorites. Then we move into the Triplets bedroom. I initially was going to go with a spooky spiderweb wallpaper, and I think I am going to try to use it in another build. It just wasn't working for this room. It was a little overwhelming because it was so big, and I do change that. I just kind of change it to the dark blue swatch of the other wallpaper. So we've got kind of like a dual color situation going on still. I like a good accent wall, if you can't tell. It's one of my favorite things to do, but I'm just sort of trying to figure out what kind of things I want in this room. Since there were going to be 3 personalities, it was kind of hard initially to figure out what direction to take it, and I eventually land on it being more of like a playroom situation setup rather than strictly a bedroom. So there's no dresser, there's no desk, but there is like this Lego table, there's a ton of toys, and I eventually will throw down like a card table, and I actually replace the dollhouse thing. I don't really know what that is. It came with the little campers kit. I'm assuming it's a dollhouse. I replaced that with the science table just so that they have some skill building items. And yeah, I really like this room too. Now I am imagining, just for story purposes as I stumble, that these are all 3 male children. They're male triplets. which is why I went with such a hard, heavy blue theme. But I also think that this room is so gender neutral that you really could use any combination of genders. They could all three be girls, they could all three be boys. You could have 2 boys, 1 girl, 2 girls, 1 boy. I think it works. Now, 2 of them do have to share a bed, but again, I feel like that works. I'm using my own family for reference there. I have 3 brothers that when we were younger, they all 3 shared a room, and then I had my own bedroom because I'm the only girl. And I mean, they're not triplets. They were born in 88, 1990, and 94, and then I'm 93. Just for frame of reference there, but they all had the beds pushed together to make one giant bed. So I guess my point is kids will sleep on anything. I don't think they really care until they get older and start seeking more independence. So anywho, on that note, I'm going to leave you guys here to finish up the rest of the build. Feel free to leave a like or a comment down below letting me know what you think. You can also subscribe if that's something that will spark joy for you. The screenshots will be on Instagram. I will see you on Monday with my next video, and in the meantime, I hope you have a lovely day and a lovely rest of your week. Bye guys!
In the wildest dream I'd see you again. Never dreamed about nothing else other than you. I always thought I'd be waiting in vain, but suddenly there you were. Never thought it'd be easy to feel you in my arms, but now we're here and I'm all in, and I wonder by you, 'cause I can stay till the morning or stay till the dawn, but just hold me now. I wanna be so much better whenever you're around. I wanna say something clever to get in your mind, 'cause right now we're not together and I lose my way then. Oh, I feel so much better whenever you're